He woke, biting a knot out of his blanket. Fog pressed the tense canvas like a thumb on an eye. Outside, the wall drums argued with the bayhorns over whose morning it was. He drank from a dented cup that remembered other mouths. A faceless man, he told the cup, would come by the privy, not the pillow. Gods favoured the short road. Dreams liked the scenic. The flap shouldered wide. Brown Ben Plumm came in with a cat's grin and a leather pouch that sounded like promises. "You owe me a gain before the world ends," he said. "Only one." Tyrion set the cyvasse board on a barrel, slid 2 lacquered screens in place, and began laying the ground behind his. A canal of 4 blue tiles to curve like a knife across his half, and 2 dunes to make the board honest. Camp cyvasse borrows from Volantine parlours and Milanese pits both. A slow palanquin for your king. Unsullied spears that step 1 and make the 8 squares around them no fly. A lane-raking scorpion. A lobbing trebuchet. A leaping sandrunner. An elephant that shoves if it trundles exactly 2. A galley that prowls only the canal and rakes along the blue. And, because men love make-believe that bites like truth, each side fields 1 dragon. Wings for any number of squares in straight lines. Dunes and canals no bar. But spears make the air around them hateful. Lose your palanquin, lose the game. Ben mirrored with soldier sense. A straight canal, dunes like 2 squatting camels. The lacquer slid away. A second figure slipped under the tent flap. Skull shaved, cheeks blotched blue by ritual paint and impatient razors. A bronze beast badge winking at his throat. "Skahaz Mokandak, the shave pate," Ben said. Tone as neutral as a blade laid between friends. "Once we were all hers," Skahaz rasped. "He took a place where he could see both men and board. Now we decide who still is." "By all means," Tyrion said, pushing a spear 1 step into a no-fly that turned the air ugly for Ben's dragon. "Watch while we quarrel politely." They opened. Unsullied 1 and 1, scorpions to lanes. A teasing sandrunner skitter along the canal. Tyrion nudged his trebuchet the way a drinker nudges a cup he promises not to spill. Ben refused the early bait, as he always had. The bayhorn spoke, long, salted, hungry, and the tent ropes shivered like hounds. Outside, the 6 sisters raised and lowered their arms like dutiful daughters tending an old father's spite. Harridan tallest, wicked sister meanest, Harpy's daughter prettiest. Rocks walked the air. Green fire wrote bad scripture. A pale shadow fell and remembered gravity. "When a city starves, Yunkai feeds it," Skahaz said, low and flat, as Ben advanced his elephant exactly 2 to shove Tyrion's forward unsullied. "At dusk I can open Gazine Gate. The brazen beasts will turn their masks. Hold the wicked sister for the masters. Make coin and live." "Peace," Tyrion murmured, sliding a second spear so the shove became a mistake. "Is a word men hire when they cannot say victory." He kissed the canal with a scorpion and raked 2 down the blue to crack Ben's far trebuchet like an egg. "Lesson," Tyrion said. "Shoving air for me only makes you breathe harder." Ben didn't waste a curse. He widened his spear garden, settled his dragon 2 squares off the canal, yielded a pretty square to threaten an ugly lane. Soldiers play. Skahaz did not watch the engines. "She flew," he said. "When the pits roared like a god with a throat, she left the city. Left me." I kept Marine safe for her long before she perched on the Great Pyramid like a pale bird. And then your locusts, Tyrion said, eyes on bone. The blue paint at Skahaz's cheek cracked a little. He lived. Strong Belwas lived, Tyrion agreed, which is less than the result you planned, and more than you deserved. You meant the king to be blamed when the queen fell, but you got strong instead. Ben's eyes made a slow, unhappy tour of the tent. So, you were framing Hisdar. Skahaz didn't nod. He didn't have to. A king who opens his city to its murderers is no king. A queen who weds him has forgotten what dragons are for. And a shavepate who poisons his own queen, Tyrion said, has forgotten what it means to be hers. Ben tried the lane again, elephant too. This time Tyrion slid aside and let the heavy stand winded under a dune, while a trebuchet hopped 1 and lobbed 3, clean over that hump to clap Ben's forward scorpion to splinters. Since we may die before lunch, Tyrion added in the lull. I once walked into a brothel with a honeycomb and a, cutting him off, jackass, Ben cut in, palm up, mouth twitching. I've heard that one. Tyrion. Then you know how it ends, with a short man disappointed and everyone else taller for it. Play, Ben said, amused, mercy enough for any morning. So they played. Tyrion floated his dragon where spears made the air unkind and hovered short of greed. Ben guarded dunes and seams. Skahaz kept talking. Dusk, gates, masks turning. Twice Tyrion offered a shiny sand runner to tempt Ben's flyer. Twice Ben refused. The horn went lower, old as knives. Somewhere far off, a roar remembered its name. Ben finally took the sand runner with his dragon, straight and quick, as any man would. Tyrion had wanted it. His galley reversed 1 neat square to open a scorpion lane the dune had been hiding. The trebuchet nudged that last finger's breadth, and his own dragon slid sideways into the seam Ben's wise spears had created without seeing it. Bolt, lob, wings. Ben's palanquin lay along a line all 3 now touched. Check, Tyrion said, almost gently. Ben studied the little palace under the dune, saw the weights and measures too late, and let the carved king lie down, the reasonable sound of bone on wood. Skahaz snorted. A clever board and a clever lie are one thing. The wall at Dusk is another. Ben looked between them, drew a breath, and let the cat's grin come back changed. Let the gods of wits decide, he said, tapping the spare board Tyrion kept for arguments that needed proof. You two. Winner takes my cloak. I'll hold where I'm paid until then. Stakes declared, Tyrion said. Stakes accepted, Skahaz answered, and his hand was steady. Screens rose. New dunes, new river.